Hi, Sandy.
It's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the ADK channel. Today we are doing a album review for Beyond Extinction and the new album Nothing More Wretched. I'm going to kick this one off if you don't mind, because I keep it short and sweet when it comes to, I'm going to say, death metal. You can tell I'm just like, I really have no idea now what genre I'm in here, but this one felt a lot more death metal than the previous album we just talked about. They're doing the cardinal sin of this album at the beginning again. They've got an atmospheric intro track. I'm not a big fan of these on albums. I guess this is a throwback to 80s and 90s where they like to do these. Some people did it because they used to use them as like their intros when they went on stage and performed a concert. They would use these intro tracks so people knew what was coming up. So maybe that's the reason. But generally now on albums nowadays, who's going to listen to a little 2 minute or a 45-second intro on Spotify? Just tap it straight onto your first proper track on the album. It makes me almost feel like it's an album filler, because actually Warmth of the Empty Light and the Subjugator, the way the Subjugator came in, you can clearly tell that was meant to have that Warmth of the Empty Light leading into it, because it has that such a stark changeover, so they might as well just put them straight together, and that would have been fine with me. But that's just a personal thing. I'm sure other people love those little intros. But as far as the album, it's an EP, is it? Oh yeah, it's an EP. Sorry. It's not bad. It's very dirty sounding. It's a real guttural kind of guitar tone on there. I'm not sure what tuning they're going for or what guitar distortion effects they're using, but it sounds sludgy as hell. It was weird because it's kind of groove metal, sludginess, sugar in nature at points. There was a little bit of use of synths throughout the album, which I thought was good because it added some actual extra texture to the songs rather than just being sort of just a really dirty metal album. So I went back and had a listen because I didn't know what the previous album sounded like. So their 2021 release, which was The Fatal Flaws of Humankind, I much preferred that. The production was cleaner, still heavy, a lot of weight to it, but the overall tone of the album was a much cleaner sounding. This one, they've gone a much dirtier factor. They've turned their dirty factor up to 11 and just run with it. And some people are going to absolutely love that. For me, wasn't for me. It put me off the album. And I'm wondering how many people liked the cleaner style of their 2021 release and are going to go, okay, it's good for one song, but when you get a whole load of EP tracks and you're like, oh, this is just really dirty sounding, is it going to be too much for you? But if you're into that and you like that sort of real guttural kind of guitar tone, then you're probably going to love this particular EP. But I can't go into much more detail on that, really. Andy?
Again, another really good release. I really enjoyed it. But I want to talk about your sort of thoughts on the intros. Is it the use of them in sort of like the modern streaming world, whereby if you're on a shuffle, it's going to come up and it's going to not do anything for you, or do you not like them at all as a sort of prelude to the first song of an album?
So there are times when I've heard these sort of ones. A good band that's done something with these was Corrosion of Conformity. So on their whatever album year it came out, Deliverance album, they wrote 3-minute instrumental pieces and they became separate songs. And that was purely because they didn't know what was going on in the album. So they were working on guitar things and they just went off and they just did these instrumental bits. They didn't have a drummer at the time. And so you had these lovely guitar passages and they stand up on their own as individual tracks. My concern with these instrumental bits at the beginning is what's the purpose that they've been written for? If they're just fillers for an album, because especially on an EP, if you've got a 5-track EP, you've got a 4-track EP now. So you've now got you've taken something out. I really want to understand from the band, what was the purpose of that particular piece? What added value does it have, apart from if you're listening to that EP from start to finish, which is the way we talked about how many people nowadays put an album on and listen to it from start to finish in the way that it was written, versus how many people just stream and put things on shuffle. If that came up on shuffle, are you really getting that value where it fades off and then the next track kicks in, some other track's going to kick in and you're going to get something completely different? You're not going to get that experience that was intended. So I don't know whether or not it has that much of a place unless you're listening to it in the format of start to finish of an album. It's just my kind of thoughts around it.
Well, I like those, to be honest, but I think you're right, Dave. They should be attached onto the first song. Otherwise, if you are shuffling through your tracks on your streaming service, you're going to hear that on its own, isolated, and I would skip it. I'd move on, because it'll then lead into a completely different song by a completely different band, possibly. But if you tag it onto the song that it precedes, then it works really well. But I've always liked those sort of intros. One of the first I heard was I think it's called Choir of the Damned that starts off the Creators album, Pleasure to Kill. It leads into that song. But if you heard it on its own, I don't know how it performs on Spotify. But if you heard it on its own, it's just acoustic guitar with crows pouring in the background. It doesn't work. But if it leads into Ripping Corpse, then it's brilliant. Anyway, back to this. Again, as I said, I really, really enjoyed this album. It's sort of, I've classed it as mid-tempo brutal death metal. It's nothing groundbreaking, to be honest, but that's not criticism because it was really, really good. The vocals I really enjoyed were, low and guttural. I think there's a phrase you used, Dave. That they've got the sort of deathcore style elements, the breakdowns and what you think would be trigger drums. They don't use, which is good because I'm not a fan of that. But the sort of the breakdowns and the sort of slow elements of songs are really good. You mentioned the sort of, the clever use of keyboards, not saturating songs, but just sort of here and there, just to give a little bit of a layer on certain tracks. The drums are really good throughout. You could hear the bass, especially at the beginning of Gravedigger. That was really good. One highlight for me was the sort of the outro of the last track, Plague Monarch. Kirk, you're the sort of expert on how these things are put together, but I don't know if that guitar tone was so low that it sounded like a bass, whether it's the bass playing the rhythm underneath the sort of single note melody as that song faded out. But yeah, some really good songs there. The breakdowns I mentioned in Subjugator and Nothing More Wretched and Eyes of God, really good. Yeah, great EP. I'd like to have heard more, to be honest. That was an EP of 5 songs with an intro. I'd have like 2 or 3 more.
Kirk?
That's it. Yeah, really good.
Over to you, Kirk.
Yeah, I agree. I think it probably would come under deathcore. What they're doing differently is the way that they're using the guitars. So first of all, the reason there's no blast beats in this is because the guitars are tuned so low, like that Meshuggah 2011 album Coloss, which has had a big impact actually on death metal because you get bands like Cataclysm that have tuned down like that Meshuggah album, and it just gives it that low end that's even heavier. So you just couldn't put blast beats with that, and you just wouldn't hear the guitars because they're so low. So I'm pleased that they avoid that. The vocals, Jasper Harmer, I think there's a lot of grit in his vocals, even though he's using that guttural technique. It isn't just, okay, we've written a song, I'm going to grunt over it. I think there's a lot of muscle behind that. And let's not forget the age of this band. So they're from Essex. This is their second EP, self-released. They do their own tours. They book their own tours. They've supported the likes of Viscera and Osiah and the big names of UK deathcore. And the fact that they're only 21 and they're playing with this rhythmic precision and making so many good decisions as well when you listen to the songwriting. The Subjugator, excellent song. That actually started like You Must Die on the new Suicide Silence album for me at the beginning. It's just that, that they've got a bit more technical, the alt-picking riffs, the circular motion to those. I thought the guitar players were going to snap the strings with their plectrum because they were picking it so hard. And I love that sound, when it comes through on your headphones. Good, yeah. Whether we're using drum triggers, probably not. Some good double kick action, isn't there? From Niall Ali, he's called. I think his timekeeping is superb on this album, and whoever's done the audio engineering has done a fantastic job. They're really crisp, aren't they, in the mix? Sludgy guitar tone. There are elements of that, but you listen just listen to how sharp the palm muting is. That when you're using a guitar tone like this, that is just going to sound so fucking violent, isn't it? And when they do the classic lock-in with the double kick drums, accenting those palm mutes as well, which, let's be honest, we've probably heard a million times now, but it still sounds great. My only criticism of this EP towards the end, I think you like this song, Eyes of God Look Down Upon Me. I thought they ran out of ideas on that song. They end up bringing in this breakdown at 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and then they just extend that until the song fades out for an extra 1 minute. I just don't. It was a bit underwhelming the way that they've brought that to an end. But yeah, that last song, Plague Monarch, discordant, clean arpeggios at the beginning, and that allows the bassist to come in. Now, I don't think they have a full-time bassist, this band, because they've got 2 guitarists, Jude Bennett and Max Scott, and I think they must either one of them two has played bass, and they got a session musician in. But I'm surprised how often I can hear the bass growling underneath the guitar distortion. So I think they've, again, done a great job in the studio there. Gravedigger. Yeah, again, that's one of those, when they do try to speed it up, clearly they're staying away from blast beats just because of the low tune of the guitars, but it works. I think it would have lost me if it had just gone off on tangents into blast beats. What they're doing is they're looking at it thinking, right, we don't need to be playing at the speed of sound to prove our extreme metal credentials. We're just going to tune ultra low like that Meshuggah album, Coloss, and we're going to feed it to you that way. It's so low that you can almost feel your lungs collapsing. And can you imagine seeing this live? If they get that sound right live, you're going to feel palpitations in your chest because of the low frequency reverberations. But yeah, as a second record, sophomore EP, they've got a big future, haven't they? And I think they've played some of the big name festivals as well. They've got a bit of a name for themselves. Distorted Sound, I think Kerrang have even picked up on them, and obviously here we are now. This is a band to look out for, isn't it? And Essex, they've got some good bands coming out there at the moment. These are probably the best, aren't they? They're already at that level. They've probably studied music at A level at college. That's my guess. But yeah, I'm impressed by this. I'll definitely look out for the next record.
Okay, well, we need to score it for the channel, so it's either a bin it, a trade it, a stream it, or of course a buy it. So Andy, over to you. What's your scores on the doors?
Definitely stream it. They're as Kirk said, they're sort of Essex, not too far from us. If they come over to one of our venues, I'll certainly be at the merch table buying some stuff. So stream it in a bit more for me. Yeah, really good.
Okay, well, for me, it's a trade it. Unfortunately, it's just not my sort of thing. They're obviously a very good band within their genre, but it's a genre that I'm not really into. But I would definitely trade it to someone who really does enjoy that sort of style of music. Kirk?
Yeah, I'm like Andy. I would stream this as well. Probably isn't a physical album that you can purchase anyway, is there? Am I just assuming because they're in their early 20s that they're not going to produce a CD or vinyl? You wouldn't put a vinyl on this, but yeah, stream it. Enjoyable. And yeah, Andy, I'd definitely go and watch these if they're playing in the area.
Fair enough. There we go. Well, it means it's a stream it from the ADK channel. That is Beyond Extinction and Nothing More Wretched. If you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on another video sometime very soon. Take care.